I survived 100 days as a knight in medieval Minecraft. This world is filled with dragons, demons, and legendary bosses. And as a knight, I can only use melee weapons and I'm vulnerable to magic. Can I collect the 12 new Eyes of Ender and free the end in 100 days? Watch till the end to find out. Day 1, I started off in a little village and the first thing I did was take my quest rewards. This gave me a bunch of random books, but more importantly, I got a spawn bag. And in that spawn bag, I got oak logs, apples, and torches. I also got a canteen and then did the basics of Minecraft, crafting table, and a wooden pickaxe. After that, I started looting the chests and got some ender pearls, then found a librarian toga and made stone tools. While exploring some more, I actually managed to get a piece of armor and these things called maulers. I also realized I had 2 skill points and put it into constitution, so I got an extra heart. Then I collected some hay bales and went to explore this ruined portal. In this chest I got a few more pieces of armor and a crazy pickaxe. Then night came and mobs started spawning, so I went straight to sleep. Day 2, now that I can defend myself, it was time to go explore. But as soon as I stepped out, I got attacked by desert bandits. I took a lot of damage, but I managed to get these bandits trapped in the villager house and then I made a hole to take them all out easily. After that, while I was exploring, I killed a snake and checked if this big man over here was hostile, and I killed a harpy. But while I was there, I found this airship, so I made tons of oak planks and built up to it. This place was filled with machinery and spawners. Then I met a skeleton which I killed quickly and got blinded from somewhere. I then broke another spawner and killed another skeleton, and I was able to put 3 more points into constitution. I felt a little braver and went up to the top floor and immediately got attacked by enchanted and powered up skeletons, so I was poisoned as well. Lucky for me, there were slabs in front of me so I could heal and keep fighting these skeletons. These guys dropped a bunch of enchanted books and I started taking out more of the spawner so I could finally loot the chest in here. These chests ended up having a bunch of iron ingots and an iron chestplate which was better than what I had. I then put 2 more points into strength and found 1 more chest, and this one had 3 diamonds and a sharp 3 iron sword. I was also able to come home and make more iron armor. Day 3, I was able to make a diamond pickaxe and then I met a moving tornado and this thing chased me all the way into a house. With the help of these guards, they were able to take it out and I went out to explore when I found this giant tower which had a waystone all the way up to the top that I took for myself. After making my way down, I found a savanna biome and I was chased by a bunch of wolves. Once I got away from them, I found a graveyard and checked the chest inside. This ended up waking up a ghost, and after I did some ghost busting, I got a fire aspect book, some iron, and a skeleton head. Then since it was getting dark, I grabbed some sugarcane and ran to find somewhere to sleep. There was a camp where I grabbed the wool and made a bed to go to sleep. The next day, there was another looking structure right next to me which had a golden apple and a bunch of gold nuggets. And this side of the world was basically a dead end, so I made my way back to the village and then went to the other direction. I stumbled onto another graveyard with some decent loot and took out another ghost, and this is when I found my first huge structure. It was a huge pillager windmill right next to a witch village. I grabbed some of the chests that weren't hidden and realized there was another structure connected to these 2. This was a library with a waystone in the front. I activated it and once the pillagers started attacking, it was a sign for me to get out of there. After running over the hills, I found a cave that was on the side of a mountain. It was kind of perfectly shaped for someone to live in. I then sprinkled torches all around the cave and chopped down trees to make chests for all the random stuff I've been collecting. Then I put my waystone right in front of the cave entrance, and to decorate I needed more cobblestone, so right next to where I placed the chest I started a mine. I actually ended up getting some iron and a bunch of coal. Then with the stone I collected, I started decorating my cave entrance and working my way all the way inside the cave. To save stone, I made the floor out of stone brick slabs, and finally the cave was looking halfway decent. I then planted my sugarcane, and right in front of my house there was an ogre villager, and this guy's chests were filled with a bunch of goodies. Day 6, I chopped down a bunch of trees in front of my house and used the oak wood as support beams for the design. I also started expanding the chest room because I'm predicting there's going to be a ton of loot. It took a little bit, but now there were 12 chests ready for me to fill up. Since I got the essentials done, I made a fence in case I need to run away from mobs and a smelting area. Then I used cobblestone to add some texture to the floor since they were all stone bricks, and the roof was next, which used all of my stone brick slabs. Day 7, my home was pretty decent right now, so I went to check out that windmill again, which had tons of wheat. I ended up getting attacked by zombie villagers and almost died, but once I killed those 2, I was able to harvest the huge wheat fields in front of the windmill. Only issue was there were tons of pillagers around, so I was very quick about it. I managed to get about 5 stacks of wheat and 11 stacks of seed. So to help me for the future, I made an automatic composter and turned all of my wheat into 14 hay bales. The rest of day 7 to day 9, I went down to the caves to mine since I had no diamonds at all. After staircasing for a little bit, I stumbled into a small cave, and that cave connected to an even larger cave. Plus, there was a huge mineshaft there as well, but I got chased by an enderman, so I had to run back really quick. I then had 2 skills, which I put into constitution and strength, and then I collected a bunch of iron and silver in this smaller cave. I worked up some courage to go down to the larger cave and started mining all the crazy ores you could find deep down. Once again, the only issue is that the mobs down here are even crazier. I then found even more diamonds until I stumbled into a mineshaft, and here I found tons of ores. I ended up getting a bunch more iron, diamonds, and this thing called fiery glass. By the time I was done exploring the mineshaft, I had around 27 diamonds plus a Stella Arcanum, and I came back home to smelt and store all the loot I collected. Since my armor was basically broken, I used all of my diamonds to make diamond armor instead. I also made a diamond sword as well. Day 10, I made an iron shield and put 2 skill points into strength. I then cleared out some more area in the cave and went out to explore. Along the way, I found a monastery with invisible skeletons, and these dudes did tons of damage even with diamond armor. I didn't want to die, so I ran straight back home. The next morning, I went right back to exploring some more. I found a village with a ruined portal, and the chest had some cool relics in it. Then I went right back to the monastery, but this time to fully clear it. I took out all the invisible skeletons and made my way up to the top. The final chest had a few diamonds and gold, but more importantly a bow. Oh wait, I can't even use a bow since I'm a knight. Day 12, right across my main area, I built another huge hole for an enchantment setup. I had a bunch of books left over and turned it into 6 bookshelves. Then it was time for a storage system upgrade, so I filled out the rest of the chests in the area and made a bunch of link cables. I also collected a bunch of chests so I could make network cables, and I started linking every single one of these chests together, but I needed a root network system, and for that I needed 4 blocks of quartz. So I went down to the mines to collect some obsidian, and I built a portal right next to my house. I then went into the nether, but this place was way too dangerous, so I was very quick, mined the quartz right in front of me, and then came right back to make the root system. I placed it right in the center, connected to all the chests, but now I needed a way to access these chests. So I made this thing called a storage request table and placed it right over the root. Now I can access all of my chests from one request table as long as these chests are connected. Then to make the storage system remote, I needed some glowstone and 1 more slime ball. For the glowstone, I went into the nether, dug around until I found some glowstone lamps, and grabbed a bunch of them, but I still needed the slime balls. Day 13 to 14, I collected some lavender to make purple dye so I could make some warp scrolls, and I went out to explore again. Since I'm a knight, I got attacked by these goblins, and once I took them out, I went over to their camp to grab their loot. Then that night, I found a cultist house in a swamp, and this place had some acolytes hiding in the house. Once I got rid of the mobs around the house, I started looting. I took all the books first and went down to the basement for even more loot. Down there was an urn that had some very rare alchemy ingredients and a barrel that had a netherite ingot. When I went to escape the building, I got attacked by an acolyte who set me on fire, and I had to eat my golden apple, which allowed me to finally take this dude out. The next morning, there was a hydra near me, and that was my cue to get out of there because I would not be able to fight that thing. Across the swamp, I found a much larger graveyard and freed this villager stuck there. Now I know I'm a knight, but I started grave robbing. You have to forgive me since the loot was really good. I got a Reaping 3 book, golden apples, emeralds, and a bunch of bones. So after looting most of the graves, I found another giant tower, and this was a lifesaver since I was pretty far away from home. I activated the waystone, so now I can travel back and forth. Later that night, I found a battle tower, but there were way too many mobs, so I had to come back and teleport home. Day 16, I collected a bunch of books, so I turned it into bookshelves, and slowly I was able to finish the enchantment setup. I had 1 more skill point, which I put into dexterity, then I grabbed some shears and went to a village where I found some sheep. I dyed one of these guys red and I was able to make a sleeping bag. I then teleported home and started working on making a backpack. I also needed some sand, so I smelted it for glass, and once I got every single piece of the equipment ready, I made a standard traveler's backpack. I wasn't done yet. I wanted to upgrade the backpack and see what the difference was. I needed more glass, so I collected some more sand, made stained glass, and then I made an iron traveler's backpack, and I'm pretty sure it didn't make a difference at all. It seemed to be just cosmetic. So now I had a huge inventory upgrade, and I filled up the tanks in the backpack with water just in case I need to fill up a bucket. Then I needed more diamonds for an enchantment table, so I went down to the mines. While I was there, I collected some arcane blocks, fiery glass, and cold deep stone, and I also got the diamonds I needed. When I came back home, I made a light and dark chest and force loaded the chunks my house was in. Day 19 to day 21, I wanted to use this light and dark chest because you can get tons of diamonds in the deep dark and I was completely running out. So I needed to mine all the way down to bedrock, and this took a good amount of time since my tunnel kept getting flooded. I still managed to make it down to bedrock and place down the light and dark chest. I put a diamond in there to get ready for the trip. As soon as I got in the deep dark, I took my quest reward and placed down a dark and light chest so I can go back to the overworld. I then used the spruce wood in here to make some charcoal and a chest for all the junk. While things were smelting, I started mining, but the iron pickaxe was really weak and the tunnel I made had no diamonds. At least my gold smelted and I was able to load up the dark and light chest. Then while grabbing some more wood, I found diamonds there, and in this dimension sometimes they could drop as whole diamond blocks, so I was already filling up on a bunch of diamonds. I found even more veins of diamonds behind the wood and made extra diamond pickaxes. Then I crafted more torches and started looking for an actual deep dark cave. Along the way I found even more veins and finally stumbled into a cave. But my god, these guys do insane amounts of damages and they're not even wardens. I had to take these guys out super carefully, and then I grabbed a few diamonds and got out of there. I came back home with an insane haul of loot, 9 diamond blocks. So I remade all of my armor and an enchantment table. I also managed to get an unbreaking pickaxe and reaping on my sword, but nothing else too good. Day 22, I put 2 more points into strength and made more warp scrolls. I then teleported pretty far away to another waystone in search of XP and loot. I noticed an underground structure and of course jumped right into it. This place had some chests in the wall and I took down this tree in the center to make torches. For some reason a zombie brute was also here, so I got rid of him and found out you can trade with these dragon villager dudes. Then one of them attacked me, so I had to kill it, and during that fight I also accidentally hit a goblin, so I also had to kill that goblin too. This little area ended up connecting to a dungeon, and that dungeon connected to a cave. I explored this cave, and as it got deeper I got bombed by a creeper, but at least I found a structure. This structure was filled with heavily armored withers, and after I took them out from a safe distance I teleported back to the waystone to go to another direction. I wanted to take out that battle tower that had too many mobs last time, and along the way I got attacked by the stalker who set me on fire. I still managed to make it all the way to the battle tower though. And on day 23, since no mobs were spawning, I was able to destroy all the spawners and make it to the top where there was a diamond block waiting for me. I put all the loot I had into my backpack and started ransacking this place. I needed every single thing in this battle tower. Then, while exploring the areas nearby, I found another golden apple and this hot air balloon which had some diamonds and other ores in it. Then I ran through this burnt forest where I picked up about like 3,000 of these howls and I had to build up to kill them. Also that night I learned how to turn my backpack into a sleeping bag. Day 24, after waking up I got attacked by some harpies and realized I did a full circle, so I teleported back home and went back exploring another way. This way I found a ruined portal where I got this necklace that gave me shields apparently, but it made a super annoying sound. I then found a witch village and started destroying the witches inside. And later that day I heard a loud noise and it turned out it was a fire dragon, and this dude saw me from pretty far away. I managed to run away and warp back home. That was another reality check, so I needed to properly start enchanting my gear. I started by making a grindstone and disenchanting these items I collected. I then put 1 more point into constitution and enchanted my pickaxe, which is actually kinda stacked now. On day 25, apparently there was a blood moon that I didn't even notice, but once I cleared my inventory, I wanted to go out and explore more. This time I actually found something really cool. It was a floating village, so I collected some oak logs and started building up towards this thing. Up here I met some villagers, but there was not much else and it was kind of small, so I jumped down. Then that night another blood moon happened, and on my minimap it filled up with all red dots, so I was fully surrounded with mobs. I think in a blood moon mobs spawned 3 times as much, and I didn't have a warp scroll, so I had to fight my way out of this. I ended up running back home and getting inside right before these OP mobs started attacking. This zombie was insanely strong, but once it was taken out, I got an unbreakable shield that increases my speed and reflects 80% of the damage back. The next morning, I got attacked by an enchanted skeleton and a looter who stole my sword. I took out the looter first, and then I was able to take out the skeleton after. Then I went to the pillager windmill to see if I could take those guys out. It was kinda dark, but I still managed to take out the first floor and climb all the way to the top, which had barrels full of iron, diamond, and enchanted armor pieces. Then I made a huge mistake as I went down to the bottom floor. This place was filled with pillagers and witches, plus there was a looter there. I ended up getting my sword stolen and then tons of poison potions thrown on me, so I had to eat my golden apple and climb out. Bye bye sword. Before I went home, I wanted to take all the books in the library, so I went through all 3 floors and took down all the bookshelves, then teleported back home with close to 5 stacks of books. I also picked up a spear from someone, so at least since my sword was gone I had to enchant it, and I got looting and leeching 2 on it. I then went down to the giant mineshaft right under my house, and the chest here had a bunch of relics and runes, but other than that I just mined a bunch of ores and got some expetrified orbs too. Day 28 to day 29, that little trip gave me a decent haul, so I made 2 more furnaces to smelt everything I had. Also, I used fiery glass instead of coal since I had tons of it. I was close to level 30, so I used my expetrified orbs, but I only got up to level 29. Then I made an anvil. My next goal was to kidnap some villagers, so I made an area specifically to house these villagers, and I went underground to grab 1 more arcane crystal. I came back home and made an arcane crystal block and grabbed some spawner scraps. Then I combined those 2 to make a quantum catcher. Now we can kidnap villagers with maximum efficiency. But before that, I needed to make a better area so these villagers can't run away. To start, I placed down 2 lecterns and I ran towards the village I spawned in and snatched this villager up with my quantum catcher. I placed this villager right behind the lectern and then grabbed another one with the other lectern. I got super lucky with 1 library and got knowledge of the ages 4, which means my enemies' drops turn into XP. I think if you combine that with looting, you basically get like unlimited XP at that point. I also had 53 emeralds in storage, so I bought that book to lock the trade in. Then I made some chests to place all of my enchanted books together, and then I decorated the villager area with stone bricks and oak logs. Day 30, I made some obsidian with iron and I smelted it to get more obsidian ingots. The ogre villager in front of my house had a skeleton skull because I don't know what happened to my old one, so I used that plus the obsidian ingots to make an obsidian skull. And with the remaining expetrified orbs, I used that with the stellarite piece to make an eternal stella. Then I combined those 2 things to make an eternal obsidian skull, and as long as it's in my inventory, I have full fire resistance. I then put the knowledge of the ages onto my spear and used the rest of my levels to enchant random pieces of armor. Now with fire resistance, I could finally explore the nether, but first I tore down the portal and teleported far away to rebuild it there. I entered the nether looking for XP and I picked up some glowstone and nether quartz first. Then things changed when I built down and found a blaze spawner. With the knowledge of the ages, I literally got 3 levels from 2 blazes, so this place was gonna be nice to grind levels. Well, until a mutant blaze spawned and I ran for my life. This guy was so overpowered, one of its fireball moves got rid of half of my hearts. I ended up getting really lucky because I think this thing just suffocated in the walls because it just disappeared. So I went right back to grinding XP. I only killed these blazes for a minute straight and I got like 6 levels and 3 skill points, which I put 2 into constitution and 1 into strength. Once I got up to level 41 and my spear broke, I left the nether. As soon as I got back, I enchanted my chestplate and got protection 3 on it. Then after rolling some more enchants, I was able to get protection 4 on my diamond helmet. Since my spear broke, I made a new diamond sword, and when I enchanted it, I got smite 3 and sharpness 3 on it. Then I disenchanted an unbreaking 3 shovel and put that on my sword. I also sprinkled glowstones all around the base for lighting and decoration. Then I stole the library's waystone and moved it towards the village so I could steal more villagers. I grabbed 1 more of these villagers and I tried rolling this dude for mending books. While I was rolling for these trades, I realized I had 1 netherite ingot and I placed it on my new diamond sword. I also grabbed 1 more villager and turned this dude into a fletcher so I could sell sticks. Then to end these days, I made a warp stone for infinite travels and I made a path in front of my house. Day 32 to day 35, I took all of my oak logs and turned them into sticks and locked in the trade with my fletcher. Then I started chopping down all the trees I had planted in my base until I had an inventory full of sticks. Then after trading everything I could with the fletcher, I realized that I could make a remote to access my storage without needing slime balls. So I collected even more obsidian and made an oceanography table to get some sea lanterns. I then made an ender chest with those obsidian, and the next morning I gave a villager the oceanographer job and brought sea lanterns. Then I was finally able to make a crafting remote. This remote goes in a charm slot, and now since my home chunks are force loaded, I can access my storage anywhere. After that, I started the emerald grind again, selling tons of sticks and buying the knowledge of the ages book that I put on my new sword. I also needed mending books really bad, so I went to the nether to collect magma blocks, because if you put magma blocks in front of villagers, it makes them take jobs quicker and it reduces the lag. And oh yeah, I also managed to pick up these weeping vine things, which I can bone meal and spam for paper. This also gave me the idea to plant glowberries all around my base. After spamming weeping vines all night, I had tons of paper to trade, plus this unlocked the book trades, which I had tons of already. I spent this entire day leveling up my villagers trades, putting lanterns around the base, putting magma blocks underneath the villagers, and trying to get a mending trade. I finally got a mending trade after about 30 minutes, so I used all of my emeralds to get it since my village was mad at me because I think I hit it accidentally. This was going on my netherite sword. Then with this brand new sword, I went out to see how many levels I could get. Just like I thought, 1 cougar Beluga and a turtle gave me 6 levels. I think looting makes the XP even greater, so I know what to get next. At this point, I was getting a full level from a single mob kill. I didn't even realize that I hadn't gotten any mob drops. Day 37, I fought this Cyclops and boy was I missing my spear. I could not reach the Cyclops properly, but eventually I managed to take it out. A little bit later, I found another airship and then grabbed some blocks with my remote storage and built up to get some loot. I quickly ran through this thing, but I was actually looking to fight mobs. That's why I was so hesitant to break these spawners. As I started moving up the floors, the mobs finally started spawning, and when I got to the top floor, I actually waited for a bit to see if more mobs spawn. I ended up looting the chest though while I was waiting, and I got some diamonds, but more importantly, I got all of my redstone from these airships. Some more mobs spawned and I was farming them until one spawned that poisoned me. So I took these mobs out and these spawners out and I looted the final chest, which had a mining system map that I wanted to find. Day 38, while searching for this mining system, I ran into a monastery which had basically nothing good. Then I got attacked by a mountain lion and got to level 50. Later that night, I found another library where I activated the waystone and saw a dragon's nest right in front of me. I ran in to go to sleep, hoping the dragon didn't see me. I thought the coast was clear until a bunch of fire started raining on me. All of my RL craft experience came back and I knew the dragon had seen me. Lucky for me, I had fire resistance and an OP shield. Plus, I was close to a lake. The only issue was that I didn't think my armor would withstand this, but as the dragon landed on me, I was able to take chunks of his health down and go in the water anytime it used its fire breath. Then thanks to the golden apple, I was able to take down another chunk of its health down, and once it landed again, I put the final blow on this dragon and picked up its scale and bones. I then got lucky again when I found this wizard's tower structure, and these bad boys have a bunch of cool things like these things called tomes and affixes. So I picked up everything I could leading up to the top floor and I broke the TNT trap and looted the main chest. After exploring a bit more, I found these huge towers and decided to teleport home. I put down this altar I got as a quest reward and I started enchanting these tomes. I got an Unbreaking 3 book from one of these tomes and I started disenchanting armor pieces. I ended up getting Protection 3 and Unbreaking 3. I also ended up disenchanting my helmet, combined that book with Unbreaking and put that onto a new helmet, and I used a dragon scale to make a dragon scale chestplate and leggings. Day 40, I teleported back towards the forest and went exploring north. I got attacked by some harpies and I killed some troll villagers for their loot. Then I had 4 skill points, which I put 2 into strength and 2 into dexterity. I also got like 8 levels from this hippo alone. I also found another cultist house again, and all the chests outside had tons of random stuff, but more importantly, they had enchanted armor pieces. Then I went down to the basement to get the real loot, and first I snatched all the potion ingredients from the urn, and the other chest had netherite leggings and a mending diamond pickaxe. I then freed the villager in here and teleported back home before this Hydra attacked me. With the new loot, I combined the pickaxes together, disenchanted my older pickaxes, and my older chestplate. Day 41 to day 42, I needed another room, so I staircased up and towards the right. This room was going to be for sugarcane and any other plants since it always snows right in front of my house, and it ruins the water source. I made a pretty big room and started placing water down in rows to plant sugarcane here first. Of course, I had to start decorating this entire area first, and I used stone bricks to match the rest of the cave. I also started putting oak logs and cobblestone around those areas to give it some texture. I placed lanterns in the sugarcane area and then realized it would block the sugarcane, so I used glowstone instead to light this entire area up. Then I used stone bricks to fill out the rest of the walls and ceilings and make the whole thing match. So by day 42, this new area was halfway done and the other half is gonna be for something else. Day 43 to day 44, I leveled up another librarian, and this dude didn't give anything really good at a higher level. The only thing decent was the extra book trade. Then that night I went out to grind more levels. This is when a lightning struck mob almost one-shot me. I had to retreat and use my shield to reflect the damage back. And also because of the Knowledge of the Ages book, I didn't get a rare drop at all, but I had no idea about that yet. Then I killed an enderman and got like 6 levels from this dude. And after fighting a bunch more mobs, I got up to level 37. The next day I found a desert biome, and these biomes are really cool since more mobs spawn and you can see structures better. And speaking of structures, I saw this huge bone thing which had blocks of gold in it and a husk spawner. I farmed a little bit of levels and then I broke the spawners, and right next to it was a desert pyramid which I jumped into and started looting this place. These chests had the first of the 12 eyes I needed to go to the end, 11 more to go. Also, these chests were filled with some weird relics and gear I had no clue how to use. On the way out, I saw the biggest battle tower ever, and this place was massive. Then right in front of that, there was some people asking for food, and lucky for them, I had some bread. Once I gave it to this guy over here, I got a companion. There was another dude hiding in the house and I got 2 companions by the end of this day. And with these dudes, I went into the battle tower. So let me explain how this battle tower works. It turns out that each floor has 2 spawners, and once you break them, you can open the chest. Then each chest has a chance to give you a monolith key, and then you need 3 of those to fight the golem at the top floor. At first I had no clue what to do, so I just started looking around for all these floors, grabbing the loot. The only thing that I knew was that there were locked chests and I needed to open them. When I made it up some floors, I found some pillagers and realized the spawners have to be here somewhere. While making my way up the tower, I also grabbed a ton of books and I made it to the top floor, and that's when I realized I needed something to activate this thing in the middle. After doing some research, I started going through the floors and breaking these spawners. This took literally forever, but I managed to get 3 land monolith keys and went up to challenge this tower golem. I placed the keys on the monolith and a land golem spawn, and this dude was a tank, but I'm so lucky that my shield reflects the damage back. Eventually, after reflecting a ton of damage back, healing, slowly striking, I managed to take the land golem out. Then this tower started collapsing, so I grabbed the loot real quick. So the tower is fully collapsed and I think my companions are dead, but I started moving around the desert for even more loot. Then I found a floating village and I swam my way up this river that was connecting to it. On top, this place had a bunch of chests which I looted and planted crops which I also harvested. That night I went to fight more of these lightning struck mobs, and again, I didn't get the drops because of my enchantment, so this was a huge waste of time. The good news on the other hand is that I got up to level 61 just from grinding these mobs out in the desert. After that, I looted this graveyard and took everything valuable, especially the enchanted armor. I then jumped into a pyramid, looted the main chest in the center, and this pyramid had a husk spawner, and I also had 7 skill points which I distributed all around and got even more powerful. I was getting kind of addicted to getting XP. I got up to level 70 and then that's when a mutant skeleton attacked me and I ran into the barn to hide. I then realized I had to fight this thing and I took it out and found a waystone, which means I can finally get back home because I was really far away. Before that, I wanted to grab a few more levels, so I got up to level 73 before I came back home. With these levels, I got protection 3 on my leggings and started rolling enchants on my other pieces of armor. I also combined some books and put that on my chest plate. Now the only thing left were to be enchanted were my boots. My armor was absolutely torn up, so at first I could only buy like 1 mending book, which I put on my chest plate. Then I also made a ton of golden apples and I started farming the crimson roots to make paper and trade that for emeralds. I also traded a bunch of sticks for emeralds and I was able to put mending on my helmet and my leggings. On day 49, I teleported to the village to kidnap another villager. I needed this dude to roll some really cool enchantments. I then put Unbreaking 3 on my leggings, and after a whole day of rolling for enchantments, I got a Looting 7 trade, which I used all of my emeralds to get. I needed more levels to add looting on my sword, so I teleported to the desert to grind more mobs. Once more, I got really lucky and found a helmet with protection 7. I then spent the rest of the night scouring the desert to grind tons more levels. Day 50 to 51, the worst case scenario happened. My PC crashed. Let me explain exactly what I did. I basically traveled from the desert all the way towards a giant mushroom, and yes, because the game crashed, I have to reactivate all of my waystones, which means I can't even teleport back home from this far away. I reactivated the waystone right next to me, and then the journey back was like 1,000 blocks, and if things couldn't get worse, a mutant zombie decided to show up. I got blinded as this giant zombie attacked me and I somehow managed to land a hit, but this zombie was really strong and it kept me at a distance the whole time. Then this dude launched me into the air and threw me right back down. I had to finish this fight quickly because the damage was ridiculous. After a few more swings, I took the mutant down and I kept running. Then over the hills, the same zombie I thought I killed was chasing me. There was also one of these lightning struck mobs there too, and I had to run away because those guys could actually one-shot you. I then took out the zombie one more time, but that was still not enough. It took me like 3 more tries to finally kill this stupid mutant zombie. Day 52, I spent this entire day finding my way back home, and I found Barako the Sun Chief's village, which I marked down for the future. Then that night, I managed to reactivate the village waystone and come back home. Now that I was home, I also put Looting 7 on my sword and enchanted a bunch of random books. Day 53, I needed even more chests for all the enchanted stuff I had, so I made more chests and started disenchanting even more stuff. I got a Protection 7 book, which I kept safe, and I went underground. This is when I realized the looting and the Knowledge of the Ages combo are super OP. I got 4 levels from from one skeleton, and then a single Enderman gave me 22 levels. But it gets crazier, since after killing more mobs, another Enderman gave me 22 more levels. And at this point, I basically have infinite XP. I also found myself in a dungeon, killed a bunch of these mobs, and I had 11 skill points, which I tried my hardest to split evenly, and got to level 100 killing the skeleton. I managed to come back home 70 levels higher in like 10 minutes. I tried to get some good enchantments for my boots, but now I was running out of lapis. Instead, I made a sharpness 4 book, and I failed at improving my chest plate. Day 54, I forgot to record again, but all I did was make a new diamond sword with the same enchantments except for knowledge of the ages. This way I can finally get some mob drops as well. So I put this sword to good use by going out to kill mobs. After killing this boss mob over here, I finally got an overpowered drop. It's been way too long. I spent the rest of this day killing even more mobs and get their loot drops as well, and I actually ended up getting some really strong gear. Day 55, I put my XP sword in my backpack and went to challenge Barako the Sun Chief. I got attacked as soon as I got near the village and I was ready to retaliate. Before this dude could set up phase 2, I rushed into Barako and took him out in a few seconds. My reward was a helmet which spawns followers, and then there was a dungeon bag which was even better that gave me 22 diamonds. The quest reward was another god statue and some XP. I placed the Apollo statue right in front of the other statue that I think I got from another quest reward. Day 56 to day 59, I grabbed some potions of luck and went to find unloaded chunks, hoping to get some nice loot. Along the way, I found a Cyclops, and since I can't use bows, this guy was a nightmare to take out and I had to run away. I also found this weird colorful biome that had these bee knights things, and they were protecting something. I actually touched whatever they were protecting and they got mad, so I wiped them all out, took the gold in the center and this golden honeycomb, which I have no clue what it's for. I then killed one enderman and got like 10 stacks of ender shards. That's probably why I get 22 levels from them with the other sword. Right after that, a mutant creeper leaped onto me and I ran from it just to prepare. This creeper was insanely fast and did some crazy damage. It also released like mini creepers, but once it got trapped in this little hole it made, I was able to take it out. I then picked up the mutant creeper egg and it was on top of my head. I had no idea what this thing was, so I punched it and I ended up getting a creeper shard. And then right after that, I got attacked by a dragon. And once this dragon landed, I was able to just bully it and picked up all the loot. I also picked up the gold palace from its nest. Then while exploring, I found another desert pyramid where I got more relics, a talisman, and a bunch of ingots. Later that night, I found a gatekeeper's house and I bought a blue journal from this guy, which completed another quest, and then I used the gray dragon scales to make helmets and boots. After that, I fell into a hole under a farm and got swarmed by zombies. I tried using my shield, but they kept deactivating it, and I realized the only way I can get out is to swing wildly. I actually managed to take these guys out. To end these days of exploring, I found another dungeon and a lost village and then teleported back home finally. Once I got home, I took my new dragon scale armors, disenchanted my helmet, and put those enchantments on the new helmet. Day 60 to day 61, I needed a hunter villager, so I made a new area with a hunting post and I kidnapped a new villager and started leveling up this hunter. I then also chopped down more trees to grab more sticks to get more emeralds, and I leveled up my Fletcher to a master level. So basically the entire night I went to find this library that I already had the waystone activated for, but since my game crashed, obviously I couldn't use that waystone anymore and I had to make this entire trip there. It took most of the night, but I finally got there. I activated the waystone and started ripping all the bookshelves apart. I went through all 3 floors again, and this way I could also get a ton of emeralds just by trading the books. Of course, I sold as much as I could and started leveling up the hunter as well. This guy has really OP trades, so this was a must to level him up. And after trading a bunch of gunpowder, I finally unlocked the trades I needed, the blaze rods. With these blaze rods, I could make tomes. The first tomes I made were for boots, and before enchanting I realized I needed more lapis, and it turns out clerics sell lapis. So I put a brewing stand in the center of the village and started leveling up this cleric to get even more lapis. Now I was able to buy lapis and enchant more of these tombs. I ended up having to make even more and more since I didn't get anything good, and while I was there I also made a tome for each kind. Day 62, I sold a bunch of gold and bought even more lapis. I then realized it was quicker to bring this cleric to my base, so I kidnapped him, made a nice area for it, and I think magma blocks kind of makes him restock quicker. I also learned how to use these affix books, so now I can be even more OP. Finally, the last piece of armor, the boots, I actually enchanted it and got a really good feather falling enchantment. After that, I combined a protection 7 book with unbreaking 3 and also put mending on this thing. So now I basically had a perfect set of boots. Just for fun, I also made another obsidian skull and combined it with my shield because I really liked the way it looked. Day 63 to day 65, I broke the nether portal and moved it far away again. And one more time, I had already been in this place before. I then moved my way over to a waypoint I set before. This is where I found a fortress prism. And after a little bit, I saw a little bit of the fortress peeking out, and I ender pearled towards it. Then I started killing these wither skeletons. I also took out a bunch of blazes, and even with looting 7, I was having a real hard time getting wither skeleton heads. And since I've been leveling up like crazy, I had 4 more skill points and I was level 67. Then while I was here, I also got some nether warts, and this chest had a nether eye. 2 down, 10 more to go. I also picked up this bastion map, and once I got sick of all the wither skeleton farming, this is where I wanted to go next. But while I was here, I was grinding a bunch more wither skeletons until a mutant blaze attacked. And these guys are some of the toughest because they can just drag you in and throw you around. I still managed to take out these guys pretty quick, and I picked up the core. And I'm not kidding you when I tell you this, I did not get a single wither skeleton head, and none of them spawned at all. I then actually got sick of this fortress, and I went out to look for other structures, and using my ender pearls, I found this temple thing. And in these chests there was a bunch of enchanted weapons and gold. I also picked up whatever this bastion ring thing is called, and I started flying through these nether, killing these things called nagas, who ended up dropping the first wither skeleton I've seen this entire world. Then after traveling even more, I found another nether fortress, and the chest in here had another map, which I was actually pretty close to, so I ender pearled around until I reached this bastion. Right in front of it was a dungeon filled with tons of spawners. I then had a great idea to break all the spawners that weren't wither skeletons or nagas. For the next few days, I basically moved around this entire dungeon, farming a bunch of whatever these guys were that dropped wither skeleton heads. I ended up getting 1 more wither skeleton head and some ancient debris as well. And I'm not kidding, I think I killed a few hundred of these nagas and wither skeletons, and it still took forever to get the last wither skeleton head I needed. I then took a break to go explore this bastion, where I killed these piglin brutes and looted the main chests. Since this bastion was glitched, there wasn't really anything else, so I went right back to grinding even more wither skeleton heads. This time I finally got the last head I needed, and I teleported back home. And also, because I killed a mutant blaze, my quest reward was a blazerite ingot. Then while all my ancient debris was smelting, I started working on expanding my storage system. So I grabbed a ton of network and link cables, and then I made space on the other side of the storage room and filled that area with 12 more double chests connected to the root system. Now in total, there are 24 cables connected to 24 double chests. I also had tons of lanterns, which I sprinkled all around the base, and I put glowstone on the floor for more lighting. Day 67, I grabbed a golem kit, the wither skeleton heads, and I made a netherite ingot, which I used to improve my non-XP sword. So after all of that, I went underground to take this wither down. I actually found some really useful ores while I was digging down there, and then I summoned the wither and used the golem kit to summon an iron golem to fight with me. This stupid golem was useless. It ended up getting stuck, and I didn't even need it since I was able to take this wither out in like less than 30 seconds. It dropped a nether star and a wither eye, which I believe is 4 out of 12 now. I have no clue where I got this extra eye. I then used the rest of this day to enchant my tomes and disenchant tons of weapons I've been hoarding. I actually ended up running out of XP doing all of that, and I quickly teleported to the desert using my XP sword, and I got from level 5 to level 75 in one night. Day 68, I killed this really fast mob, and I picked up its OP shield and helmet. This thing almost killed me though. I then teleported back home, put 4 more points into my skills, and made another chest for all the enchanted stuff. With these levels, I enchanted more tomes, got some really good pickaxe enchantments, so I made a dragonbone pickaxe and combined it together with the books, and I had a really stacked pickaxe. Of course, I put mending on it, and I also had a smite 2 book, which I put on my new sword, and now it has sharpness and smite like my other sword. On day 69, I ripped up my roof and replaced all the cobblestone and random bricks with stone bricks. I also sprinkled more glowberries around for lighting, and now most of the cave was actually pretty uniform with stone bricks, glowstone, and glowberries. Also, while I was at it, I made tons of trapdoors and sprinkled that around the base to give more color and texture. Day 70 to day 72, I traded a bunch of gold and brought more lapis. Then I went out to go explore and complete some more quests. The first thing I wanted to do was take out the first dragon I saw in this world and explore from there. Once again, I went toe to toe with the fire dragon and I immediately destroyed it. Then later that night, I found a wizard's tower again, which means more affixes, so I went inside and grabbed everything I could in this tower. The main chest had some really nice stuff, a mending book, a vampiric weapon, and more importantly, it had a ton of these affix removing books. When I came back out, I used my XP sword to get even more levels, and I drank a potion of luck to hopefully get better loot. The next morning, I found tons of pillagers and an outpost. These outposts are the only place where you can get the corrupted eye, so now I got 5 out of 12 done, I think. The top chest of this outpost had nothing too good, which is really weird because normally they're the best chest in this entire outpost. Oh yeah, and my luck on these bags were insane. I got a netherite ingot. After all of that, I found a really nice area, and this place had a blacksmith's house and a waystone, floating village, wizard towers, and a battle tower. That night I killed a boss mob and got a killer chest plate, plate, plus more tomes and affixes from this wizard tower. The main chest had a netherite axe and a netherite sword. Then when I made my way down, I got attacked by a mutant enderman, and these guys are insane. They never stop attacking and summon clones non-stop while teleporting everywhere. I used my shield to reflect as much damage as I could, and I took down this mutant enderman. Oh yeah, this thing also has a last stand move where it just drags everything in and launches you pretty far away. Before these days ended, I also raided another wizard's tower, got more cool armor pieces and enchantments. Then I fought a mutant zombie and also took down this entire battle tower. And when I came home, I accidentally started a raid, but I managed to pick up this raid horn and call the raid off. After all of that, I disenchanted a bunch of armor pieces and extracted the affixes out of some of this gear too. Day 73 to day 75, I set aside 2 pieces of armor that I wanted to remove the affixes from, and I went to grind even more levels. I killed basically everything I could because removing these things take like 40 level each. Along the way, I found a jungle pyramid and got a rogue eye. Now I think I'm halfway there. It was 6 out of 12. Then I found a jungle village which had a mob I could not see, and it kept poisoning me from nowhere. That night I also found a lightning dragon nest, and without hesitating I jumped in, landed tons of hits, and took this dragon down. I also grabbed the scales and bones and continued on my journey. Right after that, I killed another enderman and got up to level 70 and also broke into a jungle pyramid. This place had chests filled with diamond and these weird jungle relics. The next day while exploring, I got attacked by a fire dragon who I dismantled, and then I teleported back home. With 81 levels, I extracted some of these affixes, put protection 5 on my chest plate, and then put that affix onto my chest plate, which gave me 2.9 extra hearts and more armor toughness. I then needed even more levels, and of course, I just grinded out mobs in the desert again, which got me up to level 95 with even more loot. Using those levels, I put another affix on my boots, making them even better now. Plus, I had 4 more skill points to spend. Day 76 to day 79, I needed some more of these rare eyes, and the first one I could think of was the cold eye. So I made my way over to whatever area looked cold on the map, and since I couldn't find anything anywhere there and it was night, I went over to the desert again. As soon as I made it there, I got attacked by a mutant skeleton, and then while grinding more levels, I got attacked by a mutant husk who dropped a cactus jug. I managed to get up to level 77 and just picked a direction to move towards. Here I found a Hydra, and no matter what I did, I could not kill it, so I just moved on. The next morning, I favorited all the eyes I needed and crossed off the ones I had. In total, I needed 5 more since I crafted the witch eyes too. Then while traveling across this lake, I got the best news ever. The Goblin King's health bar showed up. It was time to destroy that little dude. I barged through the front door and started evaporating all these little goblins. Then I tore this ogre apart, and just like that, the first floor was basically wiped out. I then made my way up the stairs ready to destroy the Goblin King. I hit this guy as hard as I can and dropped his health down to half when he started running away and teleporting. Then at basically a sliver of health, this dude teleported somewhere and I couldn't find him for a bit. So I just looted as much of this place as I could until I saw him on the ground, and I did a jumping strike to take the Goblin King out. My rewards were not that good though either way. As I was looting this castle, a blood moon happened, so I grabbed whatever I could as quickly as possible and I teleported to the desert to farm this 3x spawn rate. Oh my god, they were not kidding about the spawn rates at all. Since there were unbelievable amounts of mobs and tons of lightning strikes, my game was getting like 30 frames per second, and all of that before I even entered the desert. I also have to say that the mutant skeletons are the most annoying mobs in this mod pack. Anyways, I made a huge mistake since I wasn't using my XP sword for a little bit, and my energy bar was almost ruined. I only had like 1 or 2 little energy bars left. I basically had to stop running, and after fighting hundreds of mobs and getting to level 103, I came back home quickly before I ran out of energy. Day 79 to day 81, I extracted a mythic affix and put it on my helmet, which gave me 8 hearts extra. Then I got some more lapis and started enchanting this new axe, which was basically perfect now. After that, I teleported far away to search for more structures that could have the eyes I needed. During that journey, I also killed some slimes and finally got the slime balls, even though it's useless now. Oh yeah, turns out I've had this compass this entire time. I use this to point myself towards a cold ocean so I could either get buried treasure or an ocean monument. I found a pirate ship, which I boarded, killed everyone, grabbed all the loot, and burned it down as well. After that, I killed some sirens and got attacked by a sea serpent, which I handled pretty well. I also raided these underground villages which had sea dwellers, and these chests were actually not bad at all. After all of that, I finally found an ocean monument, and I already had doors, so I rushed in. I didn't really try and clear all the mobs, I just wanted to kill the guardians and get the guardian eye. And after searching around, I finally found my first elder guardian and wiped that bad boy out, picking up the guardian eye. Now I can finally get out of here. 4 more eyes left. When I got home, I opened all the bags I've been saving up and I couldn't even tell you what I got. And then I upgraded to a diamond backpack and got completely scammed again. I for sure thought it would give me more space. I also made a separate area for nether warts right next to the sugarcane farm just in case I needed to make potions later on. Day 82 to day 86, to get this black eye, I needed to find buried treasures, and just looking at my dot in this map, I knew it was going to be really far. I teleported around to see if the map would budge and realized this treasure is probably even farther than I thought. So I found this ruin portal, which was pretty ready to activate, and I went to the nether. If I found a bastion, that would make me be able to craft an end crystal eye. And I did get kind of lucky because I found a fortress immediately, so my hopes are high. And after traveling around using these ender pearls, I found some really weird structures. Turns out this place was a piglin camp and one of the chests had a bastion map, which I was really close to. This was a pretty open bastion and I got 2 end crystal ores. I also got swarmed by piglins and hoglins and had to kill all of them. Then I got 2 more end crystal fragments and I was able to make an end crystal eye, so 3 more to go. With that, I teleported back to the overworld and I went to grab this buried treasure. While traveling, I got another waystone and I finally noticed the blip on my map increasing in size, so I was getting somewhat close. This journey was completely worth it because after digging up the treasure, I got what I needed, the black eye. So 2 more left. While I was here, I also looked up a cold tundra on the compass and I went to go find it so I can knock off the cold eye from the list. This biome was like 7,000 blocks away and thank God there was a waystone in that direction so that I can go back and forth from it. I'm pretty sure I spent about 3 whole days traveling, but it was completely worth it since this biome was also an ice maze connected to a snowy tundra. While I was here, I wanted to take on a boss, so I jumped onto this pillager outpost and started working my way up, looking for the horn to summon Captain Cornelia. I didn't manage to get the horn at all in this structure, but there was a bunch of good loot at the top of this outpost. The next structure I found led me underground and had this locked chest which I obviously needed to open. On day 87, I found a shipwreck and took out the pillagers on board. The captain quarters had even more enemies, but it was also where all the loot was. I think I managed to pick up the shell horn from a pillager and I blew it right next to the water. Then from the water came Captain Cornelia, who I managed to do tons of damage before it even landed. It then summoned a bunch of these drowns to distract me and heal. So after I took care of all those guys, I killed the captain and took my quest rewards. I also got this frozen key, which I needed to use on that locked chest. Inside the chest, I got something called the Heart of the Storm, and then there was another chest that I didn't even open, which had the cold eye, so I had 1 more eye left to get. Day 88 to 90, I knew that 1 eye can only be dropped from an evoker, so I teleported to the village, rang the bell, and I barricaded all the doors so the villagers wouldn't die, and then I got ready. At first, it was just a patrol that showed up, so I took them out to get a bad omen effect, and then it started. And wave 1 was simple. It was just some regular pillagers and like 1 or 2 advanced guys. Wave 2 then summoned more armored pillagers and some of these specialized dudes like these chefs and the royal guard who was a tank. In 2 waves I already had a stack of emeralds just from killing all these pillagers. Wave 3 things started getting a little bit more difficult. There were now pillager golems and these mini creepers, but it was still pretty manageable. Then wave 4 happened and now tons of these pillagers started pouring out from nowhere, all different shapes and kinds of them too. That's not all, there's now dudes who do tons of magic damage and as a knight that's what I'm weak against. Lucky for me, the golems and the village guards were still alive, I think, and I was able to get a quick nap in also before wave 5. This wave was ridiculous. There were now diamond armor wearing pillagers and way more magic dudes. They kept levitating me and there were non-stop explosions. Still, with my OP gear, I managed to take them all out, but it did almost kill me. I also took out the last few stragglers and then got a Totem of Undying. I also had 2 more stacks of emeralds now too, but still no magical eye yet. Now I think it was wave 6. I was honestly lost, but I did not think it would be this hard. Now this wave had armored evokers with super speed and I managed to actually get the last eye I needed, but I was bombarded with all the pillagers since all the golems and villager guards died. I was getting attacked from all sides, launched in the air, plus being blinded and weighted so I couldn't jump, and that's not all, my energy bar was now decreasing too. I seriously thought that this was the last wave, but after I took them all out, turns out I think there was 1 more. I still have no idea how I survived that one. There were now even more mobs and this meant more spells and I couldn't jump at all. I also had to swing blindly at like 50 pillagers just to stay alive. Then worst case scenario, my energy was red. For the rest of this raid, I really couldn't run at all. I thought very quickly and I used this golem kit to summon a golem, but it got like destroyed immediately. There were still tons of mobs left, like this redstone golem and the squall golem, so I retreated to get some space, and then when I got enough energy, I went right back. As long as I could kill these mages, I would still be able to complete this raid. Then slowly but surely, there was nothing left but the redstone golem. I tried using my golem to fight it since my energy was low, but the golem kept getting wiped. While my energy was recovering, I organized my inventory and I slowly started hitting this redstone golem. This took forever, but after killing that big beast, I got the Hero of the Village achievement and the last eyes I needed. I also freed all the villagers, picked up as much loot as I can before I despawned, then I earned myself another nap. After all of that, I came back at home, put this altar of Zeus in my house, and then I took advantages of the trade I had. Almost 1,000 emeralds too that I got from this raid that I turned into blocks. The rest of the night I spent fighting mobs in the desert, and I killed this mutant creeper, which helped me get up to level 120. Day 91 to day 93, from that last night of fighting mobs, I had a bunch of these affixes that I collected from the mobs, and I used them to max out my leggings. I also hit level 93 and used up 3 skill points. Now I was ready to take on the Ender Dragon, so I put all of these unique Ender Pearls in my backpack, and then I used 2 of the ones that I had tons of to lead me towards the portal. I don't think regular Eyes of Ender work. I traveled for a good little bit until I reached a point where the eyes started turning back. So from here, I knew to dig down around this area. I dug down until I reached these stone bricks, but I wasn't sure if this was a stronghold. I still made sure to loot everything I saw. And then there was a library room, and I made sure to get all the bookshelves there too. That's basically free emeralds for me right now. After dodging more traps, I found another library, got even more bookshelves, and I started moving lower and lower to these floors. Then there were these 2 spiral staircases which led all the way down to another library, and finally after all of that there was a weird room that was flooded, and I started looking at all these chests and breaking down the walls, and good thing I did that because I found a redstone machine. I think this is a redstone comparator that connected to a hidden room. I think this is gonna lead me to the portal. There was a huge maze and I just brute forced it by just building and chopping through everything, and in the last room I think there was a puzzle, but I was just sick of it. I just broke the blocks, and then I found another secret entrance, and this one was the actual one that led to this really beautiful portal room. I looked around for a bit before making a waystone, and then I made sure that I never had to travel in this stronghold ever again. Now for the moment of truth. I grabbed all my eyes and I placed them in the portal frame. This opened up the end portal, and I had to do a few more things before I jumped through. I basically came back home, moved my waystone to the storage room, and I had like almost 2,000 books, which I wanted to sell a little bit of so I can get started on getting the blocks for a beacon. Day 94 to day 96, I took my golem kit, tons of ender pearls, and I went to take down this ender dragon. Plus, since I can't use bows because it literally won't fire as a knight, I would have to take down these end crystals like one by one with my hands. I then jumped into the portal and I was left on one of these islands. I built out a little and then ender pearl to the main island, and I was ready to take down this dragon. I had to take out each of these ender crystals by hand, which wasn't an issue. You know what was an issue though? Mutant endermen, and there are loads of them here. 1 crystal done. So I landed below and did some damage to the dragon. It ended up healing right back, so I went full focus on taking the crystals down. I pearled around, landing on each crystals, and blew them up one by one. After a few minutes, all the crystals were gone, and I swooped in and did tons of damage to the ender dragon. While I was waiting for the dragon to perch, I also grabbed my quest rewards, and then one more round of hitting the dragon, it had only 1/3 of its health left. Then it perched again, and it left with only a sliver of health. A few more and this thing was gone. Alright, finally I took the dragon out and I swapped to my XP sword. The dragon egg was also super shiny, and of course I grabbed that for myself. I then realized that the end dimension is an XP gold mine. Every single enderman would give me tons of levels, but I ended up pushing my luck since this mutant enderman attacked me. And not gonna lie, this mutant enderman was a lot stronger than the ender dragon. Before I left to go to the other end islands, I took all of my quest rewards, which gave me another dragon egg and a nether star, plus I got up to level 213. I made my way over to the gateway and slid through the portal. I'm gonna skip past the boring travel because I literally killed tons of endermen, got to level 300, and I found the end city relatively quickly. Now that I was here, I killed as many shulkers as possible and slowly worked my way up towards the top. The top floors had pedestals holding up shulker boxes and tons more books, but it was time for the real star of the show, the end ship. Of course, I took all the books and the elytra, which already had unbreaking and mending, but these chests were filled with crazy diamond weapons, strong enchantments, and relics, and most importantly, dragon scales, which can make some insane armor. I grabbed everything I possibly could, like void totems, orbs, any armor piece with good enchantments, and I teleported right back home. For the rest of day 96 to day 98, I made these obsidians with iron so I could make more obsidian ingots. It was time for an armor upgrade. To make these Draco Arcanus armor, I needed to make obsidian armor first, and I started by making the helmet, then the chest plate, then the leggings next, and last but not least, the full armor was done with the boots. This armor ended up matching my shield and was more powerful than the dragon scale armor. I just needed to transfer the enchantments and put the affixes on it. I chose to take out all the enchants off first and I put it on my new armor, but this meant losing like 15 extra hearts from all the affixes I had, and it took like 100 plus levels. I had one decent affix which I extracted and a protection 5 book which I also disenchanted. I put the protection 5 on my leggings and the affix on my chest plate. I then put one more affix on my boots and I realized I needed fireworks, which luckily can be bought from a villager. I also had enough to make a few. Before that, I made a hole towards the sky because I wanted a beacon inside of the base. I dug out an entire area right in front of my enchantment setup to house the beacon. Then this is where all the iron, gold, and emeralds I've been collecting paid off. Each layer of this beacon was a different block and it was ready to be activated finally. I chose to use this for regeneration and haste. Then I made another area in the trading hall for the Endarian trader so I could have infinite fireworks. First I needed these purple blocks, so I flew all the way back to the end city and I teleported right back home. Then I kidnapped a villager and I leveled it up to unlock this fire trade. I wanted to buy enough fireworks that would fill up like half the backpack. For the rest of day 98 to day 100, this Endarian I realized sells dragon heads, which can help make the best bookshelves in the game. The end shelf can let you enchant up to level 80, so this is a must. I brought tons of dragon breath from this guy, then I chopped down tons of trees for bookshelves, and last but not least, the dragon head to top it all off. At first, I was only able to make like one end shelf, and this already meant I could do enchants up to level 36. So I went to the end to grab even more end stones, and I got up to like level 195. With all of that, I filled up my enchantment setup with end shelves. Now I can enchant things with 80 levels. I also just realized that there might be one more tier of bookshelves that I completely forgot to get. But aside from that, I did get my first level 80 enchant and it was really nice. I still kept rolling it though to see if I could get something better, and I did. It was a lot better. I then had a genius idea of enchanting level 80 books and tomes to fill it out and max out my armor. Doing all of that, I managed to make my armor and gear unbelievably overpowered. This is what my endgame gear looked like. I actually had to re-enchant my boots since one of it like took half of my hearts, and now this thing was completely ridiculous. Finally, I ended up being level 146 and enchanted my shield as day 100 came around.